Okay, here's an '07 Chevy Uplander, and people are complaining about a transmission that wouldn't engage at a stop, and you give it gas and finally it engaged real hard. The problem with that is these pressure control solenoids. Only problem is you can see the valve body here on the transmission. It's on the side of the vehicle, not underneath like an older car would be. So if you take the bottom pan off, all you're going to find is the filter because the valve body's on the side. If you can see up here, you got some shift solenoids and the pressure control solenoid. So you've got to take the side pan off to get to it, and so the axle's got to come out, the side pan's got to come out. You notice I got the frame lowered a bunch. I've had to loosen up the rack and pinion so I wouldn't pull out the linkage there. So you got to lower all this stuff. You got to have a stand to support it on a lift. It'd be real hard to do in the garage at home. So anyway, all you have to do is replace this pressure control solenoid here. There's a little connector and clip. Pull that out, put your new one in, and then make sure you can put it all back together. They got reusable gaskets. Make sure that that seal doesn't come out around where the axle goes, or else you have a big leak there. But some people are talking about being able to fix this in that home on yourself, and if you're not a mechanic with a good set of tools and a lift, probably be more than you'd want to attempt at home. But anyway, a good mechanic that does this every day could probably knock this out 2-3 hours, and fat, slow ones like me might take a little longer.